It reminds me of my youth with the 45s, lace dresses, and the old black and white television. No, and oh, it does have the rabbit ears on it still. Yes, yes, the cords, yes, the lights.
Is it on?
So we're gonna have.
Oh yeah, that's notice the baby.
Thank you.
Yes. Oh yes.
You can have it, baby. Mark can have a baby.
Okay, Darlene, would you step up here and what I'd like for you to do, this is Valimar, which is the artist of our present artist in the installation room, who is in the second part of, she's doing a trilogy on her life based on fairy tales, but it's fairy tales from a different perspective. So Darlene, first I'd like for you to step up here so that you can talk to the people, and then I'd like for all to circle around to see her work one by one. Miss Valimar.
First of all, I started
Watch how you hold it to
I have a degree in painting, but for me, sometimes the two-dimensional everything that I wanted to say. So when I talk about my life, I will do it in installation because it allows the individual to be immersed in that environment. It was kind of hard for me to relate some of the things that have transpired in my life. But I found that when somebody came into the installation, the barriers of different dysfunctionalism or whatever problems that they had, it seemed that we ended up having this dialogue. And so, like for me, I started to think about a lot of the things that have happened to me in my life, and it was a way of releasing, getting clarity about what problems that I had, and I started doing things in fairy tales because the original fairy tales were all morbid, bleak, and the stories, I don't know, understand how we've changed them, and now children are all engulfed in these stories that have these morbid tales. So I thought fairy tales is a good way for me to talk about me and release whatever I needed to release and be acceptable with people. The first one that I did was Alice in Wonderland, and me going back and going into the trap that I was in Gary, Indiana. This one is Sleeping Beauty. And Sleeping Beauty is based upon the death of my mother's sister at the age of 17. I come to realize that because I had witnessed it. And it was for me coming to this realization of non-existence, being mortal. And from the experience, I started calculating when I would die. And so I had come to this conclusion that I would die at 18. So here I am, 10 years old when I started doing this. And from that time on, I had this obsession that I would die at 18. So I was tormented for all these years, and then after that passed, I replaced it with the age of when my father died. And one of the things that I realized from this experience, that some of the things that was going on in my life, if somebody would have just talked to me, it would have changed everything. But children are to be seen and not heard. So instead of somebody talking to me about the past, nobody. I go to the doctor, go to a minister to get prayed for. And so it continued. So like now, I'm going through this process of going back and picking out 3 of the major things that have affected me while growing up and revisiting these events and getting clarity and talking to other people about their views and what actually happened. So one of the things that I found out about my aunt was that she had an enlarged heart. It was the size of 2 fists. And from her boyfriend at the time that she might have been pregnant. And so that put a stress on her heart. And that when she went, so I have the toilet seat because she went to use the restroom, and my grandmother's lived in an apartment and the restroom was outside in the hallway. And so she didn't come back for a long time. And so someone broke in and got her out, and I was in the kitchen when they brought her through. And for me to see her that way, it was very traumatic. And when I went back to talk to her boyfriend at that time, he actually felt bad about it. And he, through the years, would drink because he felt guilty. So like talking to different ones and friends or family, that everybody, all of us had these issues, but no one was really talking to each other about it. But after coming to realization of some things that was concrete truth, I was able to chip away a lot of the things that had burdened me down over the years. And so after I came to the conclusion that I was living for a long time in delusional illusions that could have been rectified, that could have changed. And so it became a release for me because now all of these barriers that I had in place seemed to dissipate. And so by doing this, like right now, it's like I'm getting this peace of mind. And so I'm, like for myself, I know like a lot of people, this is therapeutic for me. And so the third one would be another one, would be the last event that has been traumatic for me.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you cannot begin to feel the impact of her art until you look at it. So I invite all of you to just come and look, and then, trust me, you're going to want to talk to her, you know. So, Darlene. And one other person I'd like to introduce rather quickly, AJ, so that we can get this moving, because I know everybody wants to, you know, hang out and have a good time.